Hello everyone and welcome back to Tennis Time. So this is a big day, or at least the next day is going to be a big day in tennis history because we're going to have yet another Australian Open final. And it's not just another Australian Open final, it's of historic consequence and significance, especially those people who have been watching the big three, the so-called big three, Djokovic, Federer and Nadal in the last 15 years or so. Um, when I was preparing for this video, I was looking at past playing history between Medvedev and Djokovic. Um, Different stats, various stats, but it was very difficult for me to decide and to pick a winner. Of course, when we talk about the big three, we know how impressive they've been in Grand Slams, and everybody keeps repeating that Roger seems to be the king of Wimbledon because he's won there 8 times. Absolute record at Wimbledon in the men's game. We have Djokovic winning 8 times already at the Australian Open, so that's tied with Federer. And we have Nadal having won 13 times at the French Open. That's even more impressive. The similarity between Djokovic and Nadal with these streaks at Grand Slams is that every time they've made a final at their favorite major tournament, they won. So they've won the match, they've won the title. Federer has reached more times the final at Wimbledon than 8 times, but he's lost a few finals. So I'm not sure if that's of any consequence. I'm just trying to figure out Djokovic's chances in this final or Medvedev's chances in this final, because if you look at major finals, at the Australian Open, Djokovic has never lost. Nadal has never lost at the French. So there seems to be some sort of sense of inevitability about who is going to be the winner at the Australian Open final when Novak Djokovic is in it. Or similarly at the French Open, when Nadal plays the French Open, you expect him to win. So there is this big similarity between these two guys. So, as you can see, then we have the number 1 seed against the number 4 seed at the Aussie Open this year in the final. Let's have a look at the respective routes of these guys, how they've got there. So, we see Medvedev spending 13 hours 20 minutes on court. In his previous 6 matches, he has played Pospisil in the first round. He has played Carvalhes Baena in the second. He's played Krajinovic in the third. Then Mackenzie McDonald. Then his peer and good friend Andrei Rublev. Then Tsitsipas. If we look at all these matches, with the exception of the third round match, everything seems pretty straightforward. So only one of his, no, 2 matches went above 2 hours. The one against Rublev, 2 hours and 5 minutes. Against Tsitsipas in the semis, 2 hours and 9 minutes. The third round match was just above 3 with Krajinovic, 3 hours and 6 minutes, but every other match was below 2 hours. He has not lost a set with the exception of that third round, when he's dropped the third and the fourth sets, but steamrolled Krajinovic in the fifth. 6 love. He's played 6 5-set matches prior to the Australian Open, and he's lost all the time when he played 5 sets. This time it's his first victory and a very convincing one in the 5th set, so I think that was a good thing for Medvedev to happen. Given the fact how well Medvedev has been playing, he at the end of last year, the tail end of last year, he's won the Paris Masters, and after that he won the London ATP Finals. He's won all of his matches, he hasn't dropped one at the ATP Finals. Everybody just from the top 8 is there, so he has a very impressive streak of victories against top 10 players, including Djokovic. Has beaten him 6-3, 3 in that round robin encounter he had with Djokovic at the World Tour Finals in London. So now he's in the final. He's really looking impressive. He's playing super well, and he seems to be high on confidence. Now let's go over to Djokovic. So Djokovic is on an 8-match winning streak. He has not lost this year in singles. He's played the ATP Cup, and every match he's played he's won. And here he's won, of course, 6 matches so far since he's made it to the final. Djokovic had a tougher route to the final. As you can see, he spent 16 hours and 45 minutes on court. So Djokovic is a player who is 8 years older than Medvedev, Medvedev being 25, Djokovic being 33, closing in on 34 in May. He had an easy first round. The second round was already tough against Tiafoe. He's lost 1 set. We all know who've been following, or everybody's been following the Aussie Open this year knows about the dramatic match he had against Taylor Fritz in the third round, where he had that oblique injury in the third set, but somehow pulled off to win in the fourth. After that, playing Raonic, he had a super impressive head-to-head against him, 11 love. But he's dropped a set to Raonic as well, then played Zverev, and he's dropped a set against Zverev as well. He should have lost the third and the fourth sets against Zverev, but he's shown tremendous strength and managed to come back in that one. So in the semis, everything seemed okay again. He played a short match. That was his second shortest match of the tournament, 1 hour 53 minutes. So at a time where you want to be fresh for the final, it's the perfect timing to have a relatively short match in the semi-finals. So even though he has spent a lot of time on court, he seems to have been injured in the third round, even if it doesn't seem to have been a super grave injury, because he's managed to carry on and he seems to be recovered. At least that's how it seemed against Karatsev. Definitely was okay. So I think he would be quite happy with his form, with his performance, playing so well against Karatsev in that semi-final. Okay, having said that, as I mentioned before, Djokovic has a big margin on Medvedev because he's won so many Grand Slam titles. He's won 17, so if he would win, this would be his 18th. He would be then just 2 shy of Nadal and Federer, who have both 20. So of course, from a motivational perspective, this means tremendously a lot to Djokovic. He wants to catch up with those guys. He wants to be more than those guys. So of course he would want to win here, and given the fact that he's played so many finals here, 8 previous finals, winning every single time, that's incredibly impressive. In the last year's final, team looked the winner. He was 2 sets to 1 up, and he still managed to come back and be the better player. I think there's a commonality between how Djokovic was playing last year's Australian Open and this year's Australian Open, given his serve. So last year at the Aussie Open was the first time when I really saw Djokovic consistently going even more for his second serve. This year he's doing the same thing, especially after the third round where he picked up that injury. He wanted to make sure that he keeps points shorter. He's done that well. When he played Zverev, he out-aced Zverev. He hit more than 23, 24 aces, something like that. So that was super impressive from him. He's going for more on the first serve. He's going for more on the second serve. He's not wasting too much time. He's winning more points on his own service game. So this is a new Djokovic, and this is somehow natural development of his game, given the fact that since he is getting older, he is still super fit. But when it comes to playing 5-set matches, and if it goes down, it gets down to the 5th set, he wants to have played shorter sets before he gets into the 5th set. he wants to have conserved more energy because he might need that, and especially against a guy like Medvedev, who never seems to get tired, neither physically nor mentally, and that is his game of being a super retriever and a super redirector of the ball. I think he can redirect the ball like no other. It's very close to Djokovic, what he can do on court. So many times I have the impression that Medvedev is a younger version of Djokovic, of the old Djokovic. Um, Djokovic has, as I said, evolved. He's changed his game in playing more quicker points. His serve has become more important in the way he's playing. Medvedev, as of now, doesn't have this feeling, or he doesn't. It's not necessary for him to make sure that he keeps points short all the time. So, as a consequence, I think the way this match could play out for Medvedev, it's absolutely crucial that he plays Djokovic. He makes Djokovic play longer rallies. Djokovic will definitely, just like he did against Thiem in last year's final, he will try to come out and make sure that they play shorter points. So Djokovic would not want to spend too much time on court, not to spend too much time in super long, grueling rallies, especially not at the beginning. If they were playing during daytime when the sun is out and it's hot, I think that would favor Medvedev because he's younger and he's already used to conditions like that. Given the fact that it's a night match, it's going to start at 7:30 local time in the late afternoon or early evening. That's sort of an equalizer, so it may be helping Djokovic a little bit. Given the fact, again, as I said, that he's older, 8 years older, and he's played a lot more, he spent more time on court, I think if the match progresses in a way that we're gonna have a one-set-all situation or a 2-1 situation at some point. That means they're gonna have to play at least 4 sets. If it's 1-set-all or if it's 2-1, definitely a 4-set needs to be played. Especially if the match goes longer, it's going to be 2-all. I think it's going to come down to the fact who is the fitter player, who can run more, and who is going to be mentally on the upside. So whoever is on the upside is going to win the match. At least I see it as playing out as a long match, as a potentially a 5-setter. And I'm going slightly in favor of Medvedev. He has been in a 5-set final before. He's played it against Nadal. He knows what he's up against. He's not going to think about Djokovic being an 8-time Australian Open champion. If we look at their head-to-head history, you can see that they've played 7 times before. Djokovic leads the head-to-head 4-3, but in the last 4 matches they've played, Medvedev has won 3 of them. Potentially one of the most important indicator is the ATP Cup from last year, where Djokovic has won. That was probably the best match, the best 3-set match of the 2020 season. The second and the third set were fantastic. So from a tennis perspective, those were potentially, I can't even find the right adjectives or superlatives to say how good that match was. And the problem for Medvedev in that match was that he started late. So Djokovic steamrolled him in the first set. So that's something I'm sort of afraid of for Medvedev, in the sense that Djokovic is going to try to do the same thing here as he did against Medvedev in the last year's ATP Cup, as he did in the last year's final against Thiem. So I think the first set is really important, it's crucial. The second set, if Djokovic wins the first, the second set has to go Medvedev's way. And then the third set is going to be, again, super crucial. If it goes the way of Djokovic, of course, Medvedev has to win the fourth. But if it gets down to 2-all in the fifth, as I said, I think Medvedev has a slight edge. Those have been my thoughts for the final as a preview. Please let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I'm really keen to find out your thoughts on how this match is going to unfold. Thanks for tuning in and have a good day ahead and enjoy the final.